weekly Sunday evening live show. So we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and eagerly waiting for all of you to join in. Yeah. Yes. So I'm always very excited to join in Sunday evening because I get to talk about work on workplace relationships, and I think that is something which is so critical. I always say that most of the pains and challenges in the workplace that we encounter, they all boil down to either strained relationships or the missing connects, and which actually at the foundational level starts by
I think we have had a connectivity issue at Aastha's side. We'll just give it a few minutes and Aastha should be back. I think Aastha is logged off and logging back in.
Hi. So I just, there's no electricity. It just went off. Okay, but then I think we'll get it back soon. But I would just want to go forward. So hi everybody. If you see me like this, there's no electricity. All of a sudden, I had this trouble. And okay, so once again, a very warm welcome to all of you to this live show, Work on Workplace Relations with Aastha. And today we will be talking about something which is so common and much talked about today, which is remote working experience. So all those of you who really want to delve deeper into this, you're having challenges as a learner or as somebody, as any stakeholder, and you really want to understand, then please join in, because I have with me today a very amazing leadership coach. And I'll tell you why I call him amazing. Not that I've interacted him with him a lot of times, but number one, the extensive experience that he has, and I'm going to just introduce him very quickly. And yes, number two, what he brings to the table by virtue of what he stands for, his thoughts. So I'm going to quickly introduce, first welcome our leadership coach, Prakash Nairr. Hi, Prakash, and a very warm welcome.
Hi, Aastha. Very good evening to all our viewers. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really delighted to be here.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. And quickly to introduce for all of you, Prakash is a seasoned learning and development professional who comes with over 32 years of experience. 32 years he's been in the industry, diverse areas. And it was only September 2017 where he embarked on an entrepreneurial journey, working with clients from BFSI, retail, manufacturing, and hospitality sectors to address their organizational learning and developmental needs. Okay, so it's. I was just talking to Prakash before we went live, and I was really so inspired by the mere fact that 32 years in the industry, an amazing career, cream of his career, and he decided to get on the other side of the table and give it back to the society. Isn't that amazing? Now he has used his expertise in the areas of identification of training needs, development of content, selection of appropriate learning methodologies, facilitation of training, coaching intervention to help his clients achieve their objectives. And in his last stint, which was as head of learning and development for Food World Supermarkets and Health and Glow, he was instrumental in designing, developing, and implementing various leadership development and coaching excellence programs. And to let you know, 14 years, he's spent 14 years of his career in managing food and beverage outlet operations. That's where he started on his hotel management. In leading hotel chains, Holiday Inn, Hilton International, we've all heard names. And thereafter, he transitioned to L&D. Yeah, and he's worked with the best hotel chains in and acquired key skills in identifying training needs, designing and implementing effective training programs, which get to be able to gear up to meet business requirements and measuring the effectiveness through focused evaluations and assessment. So there's lots and lots to his credit. I just quickly, briefly picked up some, but all I want to say is that this is a huge opportunity where we can tap into the experience that Prakash brings, being on both the sides of the table. So let's get started, and we'll have people joining in, Prakash. Plus, there'll be people who are going to be watching in even later. So I hope this is going to be quite beneficial for everybody. So Prakash, first thing which I think everybody would want to know, you've been on both the sides of the table. Yeah, so you started with being in the L&D role, and you were actually identifying the training needs and then getting the right resources and everything. And now you're on the other side where you're delivering, you're supporting, you're facilitating the entire thing. How do you see these two things different? And yeah, I want to know about that.
Sure. So first coming to, a typical L&D role. So whether you are head of training and development or you're training manager, L&D managers and all that, how we work towards something, how we arrange our, systems, procedures and process and, look at outcomes, it's all based on what are the key result areas for us, or key performance indicators. And typically in most L&D organizations, the key areas are the number of days of training average one employee attends, the number of trainings or training costs per employee. So these are the things which are given as metrics. And unfortunately, sometimes what happens is they drive the agenda more than what is it is required. They play a much bigger role. The second part is a lot of training happens when typical operations, whether it be the sales function, finance function, the delivery function, or any other function, they come to you and come to the L&D and say, hey, we have a challenge, we have a problem, a pain point. So we want to ensure that it takes care of it. So those are the times when really a key pain area, key challenge is really addressed. So what happens in a typical L&D point is, first, a set amount of money is allocated, and within that you have to manage all these requirements, and it's a constant struggle to ensure that are able to get this funding or this approvals for this thing. Second is that most of the trainings are not specifically customized to a particular audience. We all know organizations typically have this calendar programs, as it's called. So people are generally asked either just after the performance appraisal or doing any training itself, what are the programs? So you have one program which caters to people across diverse functions, and they really do not have any effectiveness beyond that point. So you're just doing a lot of training programs, but they're not really being effective. So that is the two things which I have seen as challenges. However, I should say that a lot of incredibly good work, impactful work, that get done in L&D functions, taking away these two challenges. We keep aside those challenges, there is a lot of incredible good work which is done. So that was my understanding of how L&D works. Typically, you have to work with these constraints and make sure you deliver. Now, on the other side of it, having this understanding, now I am able to help L&D people achieve their key result areas, so the key performance indicators, their important outcomes and all that, while at the same time making sure that I am able to deliver programs which result in transformation. which result in not just at an individual level, but at a team level or organization, there are changes, and people are able to get the desired results. That's the biggest change I see. My knowledge of being other side of the table has enabled me to you know approach my programs, my solutions in a more interesting manner.
Interesting. Great. So, Prakash, now that we are all going through these testing times, if I were to call them, and people are working remotely, though things are resuming, and we're talking about a hybrid also, and but work from home, as we call it, is likely to stay. It looks like it's going to stay here, and lot of times, lot of leaders that I've spoken with, a big challenge that they talk about today is how do you keep the teams motivated when there is no face to face meeting, no connection? How do you really establish that connection that we're talking about? So we know that what we need right now is that connect. The challenge is how do you establish that connection when we are not even meeting, when people are not willing to really come online? They barely want to come for the meetings and then vanish. And how does it really work? So, what do you have to say there?
So certainly. So, what you said is exactly right, and what the leaders are, expressing as the pain points is, very, very true and relevant in today's world. And if I could, go back to the research which has been done by Gallup, that organization which has invested 30, 40 years, and came up with a Q12 questionnaire, which is, one of the most widely used assessments for understanding how employee engagement. And I look at it just not as an assessment. I think it's a framework for building employee engagement. That is how I look at it, and I work with organizations. And two or three key questions in that, and what they say: do I have a friend at work? One of the key things, questions which is asked. The second is, has someone, my supervisor or manager, appreciated and recognized my work in the workplace? And the three is, do I get to do my best work? So these three questions, I think, are, among the 12, are the key to ensuring, employee engagement and make them truly engaged. So what do we do now? I think the answer lies in what we were doing before. When we were in a physical environment, there were these impromptu, ad hoc interactions, whether it is going for a tea coffee break, whether it's going for lunch or dinner, whether it is just going across, walking across to each other and having those conversations before a meeting start, the quick catch-ups with each other, after the meeting catch-ups with each other, the various fun activities and all that. I think those were working well before, and that is what we need to do now. Now, all of us have been reduced to a rectangle on a screen. And
True.
that is what we need to look at, is that how do we now go beyond being a rectangle on the screen and look at building deep connections. So the first thing I request leaders to do is that on a daily basis, have a check-in with your team members, not a check-in about how is work, how is everything, but just how are you, how is everybody at home, how are things going on, everybody keeping well and safe. I check with them so that they are able to understand. And today we all know, with this personal and professional boundaries blurring, many people are facing challenges. There are many challenges. So it's very important for leaders to touch base and get into that sort of conversation, a quick check-in every day, just to ensure that everything is fine and people are free. That is one. Second one is that maybe on a weekly basis, if not at least on a fortnightly basis, have a longer conversation where, again, you go over the same points, but you probe a little more deeper and ask, how are people actually feeling? What is the work going on? How is it all affecting you? So that people are able to share their feelings and expressions. One recent client I worked with, and most of the employees whom I was speaking to, typical team members, they said, sometimes we feel like we are just a pair of hands. And that statement conveyed a lot of truth, because it reflects the way things have changed. Today, with virtual environments, one, everything is so work focused, and the number of meetings have increased, people having to work beyond their regular working hours. All this seems to have become normal today. So people are saying, I've just become a pair of facts. And we cannot forget that we are human beings, we are social beings first and foremost. Before it's only after that, all the logic, analysis, everything comes. So the opportunities for social interactions that needs to be looked at, Asta, and that is what I think is one of the keys.
So, you did speak about that, but in a time where, the way things are, and everybody is, the whole system, everybody is kind of evolving and getting attuned to this new system. How do you think this should be really executed or implemented? If you have certain, very, very specifics there on a, like, I understand weekly this should be done, daily this should be done, but how do you really get them to do it when the whole focus is on chasing those numbers, getting those targets done, and, ensuring on one hand, maybe the mental state or the mental well-being of the employees, versus ensuring this, and leaders themselves going through that, maybe the situation that they're going through. And so one is, how does it really get down to implementation? How do you ensure that? And secondly, what needs to be done? There was a recent survey that was done by GI Group of Noida, and where, one of the startling figures was 94% of the leaders or the employers, they admitted that they were aware about the mental health issues, but 9% of them, only 9%, said that they really go about doing something with respect to it. So they know, we are aware, they're like, we're aware of it, we know the impact it has on business. However, 9% said we really do something about it. So both the things, while it is important, you're saying this needs to be done, how do you really get them to do it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first, going back to that, let's say typical leaders' day starts at 9 in the morning,
Yeah.
and there is this typical, the morning catch up or the morning meeting, the first meeting of the day, where everybody, you get together with your teams. I think one of the things which I've recommended and worked well is that allocate the first 15 minutes for everybody to just to express how they are feeling, how is that things have been going for them so far, what are the challenges they're facing at home, things at home. Those are the things which everybody gets a chance to operate. So some of the questions we ask is that, hey, how is everybody at home? Children are there, schooling, we know that it's a huge challenge nowadays. The spouse, the parents at home. So asking these questions and helping everybody. And what I've seen is, once you start the conversation, everybody starts pitching in and everybody says, shares their thoughts. So allocating the first 15 minutes of the day to, connecting to people, helping them share their thoughts, helping them share their concerns, and then saying that, all right, that is something which we all now understood. Then shifting to the work-related conversations. So everybody first feels, okay, there is this leader who cares about me, who cares about what is going on in my life, what are the challenges which I'm facing currently. And then only is that we are talking about the talking about the regular work. The second thing is that when people are sharing in this, people share and the leader just says, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, great, fantastic, and moves on. Again, that does not come as that was being authentic. You are just being superficial. So making a note where you hear any important concerns, key concerns, making a note of it and calling that team member maybe immediately afterwards, or, allocating a time sometime during the early part of the day, calling them up and saying, hey, you had expressed this challenge, this concern. I just wanted to know if there is any way we can help you. What is that we can do? And what is that exactly you're going through? So just that, expression of support, that is something. And another thing which I say is that at the end of the day, have a quick catch up and tell everybody, hey, we have got through today. This is all we have done. Great work. Considering how the challenges which you have to work with, this is all we have done. These are the things which you done. Talk about the positive things and look at ending the day on a positive note. That's the first thing I always, recommend. And as I said, it's something which, I have my coaches doing it and they are seeing, very good results out of it. The second one, as I said, either a weekly or a fortnightly catch-in, where you schedule time, 15 minutes minimum, and that is where you get into asking both about the personal part and how is work actually to you? How are you talking about? We understand every day we are facing these challenges and all that. But other than what does this work mean to you? How is that you're finding work? Are you enjoying it? What are the areas where you feel you're not making progress? Understanding so that how they see their work is something which every leader, I think, needs to know, because it's only then that alignment of personal goals and the team goals and the organization roles can happen. Yes, time is a huge challenge. However, when we do this, we actually find that people are more productive. The productivity increases because people are, emotionally connected. Apart from that is looking at increasing how the team gets together for off work activities. Earlier, this used to be the fun Friday. That used to be a very popular concept. So looking at maybe on a Friday afternoon or a Friday evening, get, getting the team members together for a quick 10, 15 minutes, doing activities like games and exercises and all that. That is the third thing which I found, as I said, replicating what we used to do earlier, doing that in the virtual space. That is a third thing which I have seen has produced very good results. That is the answer to the first question. The second question, where you had mentioned, like, despite leaders knowing that mental health is an issue, a very small minority percentage is what actually doing anything is that.
Yeah.
Mental health, I think, is still, even though COVID has addressed this to a great extent, mental health has got still a great stigma to it.
Yeah.
It's how something is wrong with it.
Yeah.
Uh, However, the COVID has helped us get away, or rather at least remove most of it, but still there are issues. So I think what leaders need to understand is that what is the true impact of this mental health issues on the productivity? Because leaders, first and foremost priority is, ensuring that results are met. Because if you don't do that, then everything else is affected. There's no point in
Yeah.
talking about other things. So, how does it affect the productivity? So look at how many times people have taken time off. What is, if there is a productivity drop, what is the reasons? Is it due to absenteeism, sickness, people not keeping well? And collect some data and do an analysis and look at how mental health. And I know one organization has been doing this of late for the 3 months, and they find that the figures are really startling and alarming. And when they presented it to the leaders finally saw that this was actually not something which they could ignore, and they needed to do something about it quickly and seriously. The second factor which is already pushing it is that in IT companies, the IT sector especially, and a little more so, I mean, somewhat in the other sectors, is that attrition. The
Yeah.
rate of attrition is going high. We are hearing about people getting 70, 80% hikes. Today, I've seen a report where it said some companies are looking at giving key personnel in their organization a 120% hike. 120%. Now, for any company, I don't think you can live with such increase in payroll costs for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So why are they doing it? I think today it's a matter of survival. You need to make sure that you have at least those top talent, the key performers, the solid performers in your organization. You can't afford to let them go just to ensure that you survive. After 6 months or maybe a year, this is all going to change. Companies are going to look at saying that this is not sustainable. We can't go on with a business model where payroll costs are 70, 80% of our revenues, because clients are not going to pay more, or at least not 120% more. They're not going to pay that much more. So how do you manage? So the important thing is that yes, this is a war. You need to open your war chest and throw money. You need to make sure you give all that to talent, but it is not going to be sustainable in the long run. What is sustainable in the long run is all the other things you do for your employees so that they see that this is an organization I would like to stay back because they really care about me. When I was in trouble, this organization really took care of me and made sure that I was well supported. In another organization, I may get this 60, 70, 80% hikes, but I am not sure if I get into trouble or if I have some illness, God forbid, whether
Yeah.
these organizations will give me the support. That is something which we need to look at, Asta.
Great, very, very well said. But that, brings me to a point where when we know this, uh, and this is something that, I would say has to be a part of the culture somewhere, within the
Yes.
organization, and which flows from top to the bottom. So,
Yes.
a lot of times, like you mentioned in the beginning, the interventions, the trainings or the coachings that either they're missing. A lot of
Mm.
these big organizations, I see it's completely, there are technical interventions, but when it comes to those specific mental health issues, it's not addressed. And even when there is some, it is, so that's what I want to know from you. How does the whole approach need to evolve, and what really needs to be addressed when it comes to the, maybe the starting from leadership and then the next level and then the next level, so that this is really taken care of? Because what they really do
Sure.
is, okay, coach my frontline, coach my managers.
Yes, very correct, Asta. It is typically most of the time a bottom-down approach, and hardly reaches the leadership levels. And I know many people who attended my coaching or training going back and saying that, "Hey, Prakash, I tried all this, but my managers doesn't seem to know anything." And sometimes my managers ask me, "Why are you doing all this? Great, you attended a
Yeah.
training program, but let's stick to the same old ways." So I have dropped everything or I stopped doing anything, which is quite sad after investing so much time and effort. So it has to be you know driven from the top. So I think one of the things is that we all are driven by metrics. We are all driven by numbers. Mere statements and just observations, research and all that really don't hit us as much as numbers do. So that's why I said doing an analysis of how mental health, we all have these numbers in the public domain, by governments and NGOs, but within organizations, what numbers do we really have? How is it affected our workforce, and what percentage of employees, what is that doing? I think that sort of thing, and I see that is also been happening now. People, many organizations are doing. I think that is the first thing which we need to do, and get some numbers which are very clear and say that, hey, this is really important for us to now start paying attention to it. And if we don't do it right now, we are going to be very much caught in a very, very bad situation further down the line, and where it might be too late for us to get out of it without significant damage. So that's the first thing which we need to do. The second is, let's say the organization is driving a new project, a new initiative, anything new. How would any organization, address it? It starts at the top. There is a clear objective. There is a clear strategy. There is a clear then the set of tactics. Then the entire planning and prioritization. I think for mental health, that's the same approach that any organization or leader should take. Saying that mental health now, it's like let's say new technologies are coming, there are huge opportunities. For example, machine learning or AI. So how our company is going, they're saying, okay, we are going to now do this as a project. We are going to get into this sector. So we are going to do this 25% of our revenues will come from AI in the next 5 years. These are the technologies. This the same way, I think the organizations need to look at saying that mental health is an issue and it's only going to become bigger. So we need to address it as a organizational initiative. So let's look at what is the first thing we want to do. We want to ensure that mental health of all our employees is something which we are taking care of. So we need to be aware of everything. So what are the steps we are going to do? How is that we are going to do it? Where is that we are going to do it? Do we need to bring in mental health professionals as consultants and have them work? Do we just need people to come in and do training for all our staff? What is the best thing which can work for us? That is a decision. But looking at as an important project, important initiative, company-wide initiative, and driving it from the top. That is very, very critical, Aastha.
Yeah, right. And quickly to say, you spoke about being authentic, not doing it for the heck of it because the other person is doing, that's so demotivating. So, what do you have to say when it comes to that authenticity? Because at the core, we are all human beings, and but sometimes it needs to be learned, it needs to be practiced. We need to really somewhere. So, maybe I'm learning something, then learning this whole approach of basically approaching his team.
Yes, Asta, I think that's a very important, requirement for leaders today. Their ability to, demonstrate empathy. And I do have a slightly controversial thing here. I think empathy, to a certain extent or a great extent, maybe research will prove, is inbuilt. We are by nature, more or
Correct.
less empathetic. Now, having understood that, I think it's very important to be able to develop empathy as a skill. We don't have a natural talent for it or a great talent for it. The second part is to, understand that then we need to, do it and develop it. The sort of, I keep on doing the same action so that it becomes a habit. We develop it as a skill. So that's the second part. So for leaders to be able to do this, the first requirement is, whether they can do it on their own or that they need to go to a training program or a coaching program, is to understand what sorry, I'm just going to go on. What is a crucial conversation, all about? What is a crucial conversation all about? What are the things that we should ask? How do we use questions to establish relationships, establish connections? Secondly, is that how do we listen? Because communication consists of two aspects. One is from our side we articulating. Right now I'm articulating. I'm using all three components. The second is the listening to understand the other part. And how do we now practice empathetic listening? Being mindful. So there are many things. One is that we can practice mindfulness. There is meditation. These are things, lifestyle practices which we inculcate into our life so that it helps us listen better at each point in time. The second is that when the person is actually saying something to us, the 2, 3, 4 things that we do to make sure that we are listening. If I could just add one more point, is that there are the typical 4 types of noises which distract us from listening. One is your physical noise, noise around you. Right now there are cars honking, neighbors talking, something going on around us, but that is something we need to be able to shut out and look at it. The second is that psychological. I am hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, so I can't listen at this point in time. The third one is the semantic part of it, the words, what they mean, they could mean different. And the fourth one, which is the most important, is the psychological part, where my own thoughts, why do I have to listen to him? What is this person, grumbling about? All that things which come about. I don't really get along well with the person. I don't see what the problem. Ability to address all these noises and listen fully, physically and mentally. I think that is one of the key things which, leaders need to do. And I have seen, again, when you are able to do these things well, there is a significant difference in their relationship. People felt heard, and they really feel that, okay, I am being valued, I'm being listened to.
True. Very well said. And I think, yeah, cannot emphasize enough the importance of listening, empathy, curious listening. Absolutely. So, is it my connection? Because I see you frozen. I can hear you very well, but the video is frozen.
I'm not sure, Aastha. From my side, my video seems okay. And your
Okay.
video, I lost you for a little bit in between, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. So then fine, because I can hear you. So maybe something. Okay. So,
Sure.
great. I think so. Just the last question. You've beautifully shared. What's the path? What is the need of the hour, and how can that be how can leaders really evolve through this whole thing, what they need to do. Now, if at all, there, there's a team, there are employees who are struggling in the absence of that strong, empathetic leadership today, when they need it the most. What do you have to say, or what's the message to them? How go one, they are already struggling with all the mental issues of personal space, professional space, and all of that. And two, here they come workplace and it takes a toll on them, just because most of them, I think almost 78% said the survey that I spoke about, that it's the leadership which impacts the biggest way the mental health, the leadership. So how do they deal in case of absence of that strong empathetic leadership?
Sure. There are two key aspects to addressing these issues which we have. One is we need somebody to listen to us without judgment, without prejudice, without bias, empathetic listening. Somebody to be able to listen to us and help us feel heard, that our concern is genuine. What we are going through is, really something quite difficult. First is that we need that validation.
Sure.
If there is nobody who does that, then that's a problem. So the first thing is to find somebody. If the leaders are not in a position to be able to do that, would the HR be able to do it? Is there a counseling cell within the organization who can help? I know some organizations which are tied up with counseling organizations, and there is a hotline you can call, and you can have these consultations. So that sort of thing needs to be done. If none of these are available, then you need to look at one within your family, somebody whom you feel is the right person, and you can speak to and get that validation. Or I think you need to look at a professional counselor.
Sure.
What I would urge is that you have to do one of these things mandatorily. Make sure that one of these things is there. Please do not ignore it.
Yeah.
The longer you fight it on your own, the more difficult it becomes to get out of it. So that's the first part. The second part is that once you have spoken, is that what is that now I need to do? And that most of the time it's only professionals who can help you with. However, it again depends on the nature and the intensity of the difficulty which you're going through, the challenge going through. So the more the intense the struggle is, the more the need for a professional. So get in touch with a professional counselor and speak to them and get the required help. It is like you have a viral fever, you go to a doctor, takes medicines and come back. It's the same. There is absolutely no difference. It is nothing to do with any part of our character, personality. It is just that something which happens, and it's happening to more and more people now because of the various things which are happening around us. So I would urge that you seek help, just as we would go to the doctor with a physical ailment.
Great. Lovely. So, thank you so much. I think we've had a full discussion around, different aspects of what leaders need to look at, what is the need of the hour, and how you beautifully summed up that, it is all about, being empathetic right now, and how can that be done? How do the interventions need to evolve right now? And also, in the absence of all of this, if at all, you need to deal with it and manage yourself, then you need somebody who could listen to you. So that's one thing you said. Leaders also need to develop, which is the empathetic listening. They need to give it out extensively. And if you're dealing with something, that just put aside all that taboo, the stigma, all that self-talk that you have, that no, I cannot be talking about this. I think that's a great point, because so many times I see leaders struggling also, the employees, the team also struggling, and the whole taboo that there's something wrong with me if I really raise it up. So it's just normal. Great thing that Prakash said. It's absolutely normal. It's just like any other thing. So you need somebody to listen to you. And most of the times, the beauty is when you're talking, even just while you're talking, you get the insights. You're able to just get out of it, and which is where you spoke about the intensity of the pain or the trouble, and whether you can do it on your own by speaking to somebody, or you need to seek professional help. So don't hesitate, stand committed for yourself. And yes, I think lovely message. That was a great, great, great discussion. I hope you all benefited, and you can get in touch with Prakash. So, Prakash, where can people connect with you if they want to?
Certainly, they can connect with me on LinkedIn at any point in time, Aastha. I'd be very happy to, share any other insights, any other requirements they have. Very, very happy to, do that and help them out.
Lovely. So if you are part of an HR L&D team, or if you are a leader, part of any organization, and any leadership related issues or otherwise, and specifically since today we were talking about the remote working experience, so if you want support there, and in your leadership journey, then please reach out to Prakash with his extensive experience and what he spoke about today. I think he's out there to help you, willing to help you. He can really take you through the journey. So you can connect with him on LinkedIn, and yes, he's there for you. So lovely. Thank you so much, Prakash. Thank you. And I think the moment I ended, the electricity is right there.
The timing.
Finally. I know.
Yes.
I think that was also learning,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on a show. I hope I was able to, add value, give some important insights to all our viewers, and look forward to, associating with you in the future. Really look forward to it. Thank you so much.
That was really lovely, kind of you. Thank you so much. And those of you, please go ahead and follow Prakash, because I think some real valuable content. So for every day also, for you to get a perspective on so many different things, it's always very important. So go ahead, follow him. I really love what he puts there. So great. I hope you all found this valuable. Please write in to us. How did you find this? What was your takeaway? And if at all there's a question that you want to ask Prakash, then yes, you can write directly to him. You can write to me, and we would be happy to help. So thank you so much. I'll see you next Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, on Work on Workplace Relations with Aastha. So do join me. And thank you so much. Thank you, Prakash.
Thanks again, Aastha. A very good evening to all of yours. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.